Last Sunday was Pentecost, the birthday of the church. Wore my red shirt just for you. Exciting time. Talk about the birthday of the church. Talk about the birth of the Holy Spirit, the outpouring of God's Spirit upon those who were filled with Jesus Christ, and how that began a worldwide movement that we call the Christian church. Kind of sad that in the midst of that, there's a whole bunch of United Methodists who are talking about getting divorced. It's the death of the United Methodist Church. A lot of weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth, sackcloth, ashes, woe is me. But it may be the best thing for us. It may be exactly what we need. In fact, I happen to think it's a good thing. So today I want to talk about two things you should know about dividing the church and that you should be doing right away. Next week, I'm going to talk about things the denomination should be looking at going forward. These are critical times. So stick around and we'll talk about what we're going to do with the future of the Methodist Church on Coffee with Coach. Welcome to Coffee with Coach. My name is Steve Petty, and I have 3 goals for these videos to help you become a better church leader, to save you time and money, to help educate, energize, and motivate you to energize and motivate your church. So, it's June. In the United Methodist Church, we call it conference season, when all God's delegates march off to war. Annual conferences all over the planet. And once again, we'll be talking about sex. We'll be talking about what to do about sex. Why is that a part of the church? What you do in your bedroom with someone you love is something that people want to have some say in. Why is it beyond me to understand? We have been at this whole homosexual LGBTQ plus thing for over 50 years. We have spent literally thousands of hours and multi-millions of dollars arguing about this. And you know what? It's killing us. People have stopped coming to United Methodist churches because, not because of one side or the other. They've stopped coming because we're a conflicted church. It's like moving into a war zone. It's not something you want to do. We see it every day in Ukraine, all that destruction. Well, that's what's going on in our churches, except they're not being bombed. They're being spiritually bombed and emptied out. Who wants to go to a church that doesn't know who it is, that doesn't know what it stands for? Are we against LGBTQ issues? Are we for LGBTQ issues? We don't know. We're divided. The dissension is killing us. Mom and dad are getting a divorce, and the kids don't want to come home from school. If we keep arguing, keep the bitterness, keep the hatefulness and self-righteous judgmentalism of both sides, we will drive everyone out of our churches. We are literally the stumbling blocks that keep people from coming to Jesus. We are the disciples who keep the little children away. We are the faithless who ask Jesus to send the crowds home so we won't have to feed them. That's us. That's how the world sees us. It's kind of like the movie War Games, if you're old enough to remember War Games, when the computer stops playing tic-tac-toe and says, the only successful strategy is not to play. Well, folks, we have to stop playing at this, or we will cease to be relevant at all. So here is my remedy for new life in the Methodist churches. First, embrace the separation as a good thing. It is a good thing. Why? Because we can stop the negative storyline. Both sides in this conflict have ripped the other ones to shreds. They don't believe in the Bible. They don't understand Jesus. They're not loving. They're not kind. Those people on the other side of this issue, those people are destroying the church. Except that we're not doing anything different than they are. So, both sides of the church, both sides of the issue, both sides of the war front are doing the same thing. And that negative storyline, that dissension, that conflict, that anger, that tension, that's killing us. So once we finally divide, we can stop being the negative church and we can start being the positive church. We can stop telling everyone why the other side is wrong. And then we can positively proclaim who we are. Tell the truth we want to affirm and proclaim it and forget about the other side. Just be the new church we want to be. I don't care which side you're on. Be that church. Proclaim it. Boldly embrace it. But stop the negativity. People who aren't Christians don't come to church looking for conflict. They come to church looking for God's presence. They come to church to find love. They come to church to find other people who are wrestling with this Bible thing and these stories that Jesus tells and how to really love one another so that we don't have to live in such a hateful, fearful society. They're looking for positive answers and they're getting negativism. It's time to stop. Non-believers want to come to a church that knows what it embraces and what it feels good about. We get rid of this conflict. We finally divide. Each church will know who it is and what they want to do with that knowledge. So, be positive about who you are. Put the division behind us and start addressing the real difficult issues facing the faithful. Homosexuality isn't the real issue. There's a lot of other really big issues facing our Methodist churches that we have to address, and we have to address them now. If we keep addressing the homosexuality one, the other ones will kill us too. The second thing, and this is for you pastors and church leaders, what to do with your church. I know a lot of pastors are trying to lead their churches through this conflict by telling them why the other side is wrong. All you're doing is confusing your people. Forget this issue. Step away from it. Step back from it. Step away from the acrimonious bitterness that goes with the issue and say, who are we? What is this local church? What you must do now is lead your local church. For the next few years, the connection is not going to be able to lead you. They'd like you to think they will not. They will just continue to be confused and likely spend a lot of money doing little. Your local church, that's where your bread and butter is. Lead your local church. Show your people how to love one another. Show your people how to be a mission to their community. Lead your people into loving your neighborhoods, being the church of Jesus Christ in your place. Forget about the denomination for a while. Even though it's screaming in the background, forget about it. Just lead your local church. Make it the strongest local church you can be. How to do that? Sit down with your leaders and say, what are our strengths? What are the particular wonderful aspects of our church that we really need to affirm? That we can stand up in front of our neighborhood and say, this is who we are. We're a mission church. We're a church that helps the homeless. We're a church that goes to foreign countries and does real good things. We're a church that's involved in government. We're a church that's involved in your lives. We're a church that's involved in the schools. Whatever it is, sit down and say, what is it that we do really, really well? And then strengthen those things. I wouldn't spend any kind of time looking at, well, our weaknesses are, let's spend time addressing our weaknesses. They're not going to help you. Weaknesses are things you don't do well, and it will take a maximum amount of effort to learn how to do them well. Take the things that you do well and do them better. Do them first class. Do them so that the whole world will notice and applaud. Do the things that you do really well better. Build on them. Strengthen them. Your people know how to do that. You know how to do that. So do it better. Do those things. Strengthen your local church and ignore the denomination. And when we finally separate, say, go away peacefully. It was nice. We were married. We loved each other for a while. We have irreconcilable differences. We have to part. But we still want to love you. We want to part peacefully. That, dear friends, is where this all has to come out. And it's not going that direction right now. I'm a bit worried. Number one thing we need to do is to see that it's a good thing. Stop fighting it. Stop fighting with each other. Stop the negativity. Say, okay, we're going to divide. This is a good thing. Now we can be positive about who we are. Now we can build up our own local churches on their particular strengths. Do that. Do that. Next week, I'm going to talk about next steps for the denomination. This is an opportunity we cannot miss. Forget the fact that we're dying and find the places where we can be resurrected. We were dying before this homosexual thing got carried away. We were a dying denomination. We've been dying since the mid-50s. It's time to look at it and say, we've been doing some things wrong. We cannot embrace the old stuff anymore. We have to do new things. Next week, I'll talk about 3 things we must do coming out of this division to rebuild our churches, to rebuild our connection, to rebuild our national standing. 3 things next week. So come back for Coffee with Coach. I hope you enjoy these videos. I enjoy making them. If you like it, click that little button down there on the bottom and subscribe. Like it on my Facebook page, on my LinkedIn page. Let me know. If you've got comments, write those comments down, or you can send them to me at steve@revstevep.com. I'd love to hear what you think about these. Let me know, because right now we're at a critical stage, and we all need to pull together and help one another. It's what I'm trying to do. You can help me by letting me know what you think. That's it for this week. See you next week on Coffee with Coach. Take care.